Good morning and welcome to ColorLogic. This morning we're going to explain about how we can use the ColorLogic system for designing and printing in an extended colour gamut, producing spot metallic colours, image effects where we integrate metallics into photography, and dimensional effects and watermark effects. The first thing a printer needs to do when they receive their package is to open the product and to print out what we call the print certification test form. The print certification test form has been planned onto a single sheet. The printer produces their proofs or prints to the density and print process control that they would use in-house on their own machines. The idea behind the ColorLogic system is that we are allowing and licensing the system to the printer to be able to produce their own colour charts. So the first thing with the print certification test form, this is to certify the printer to ensure that they are matching the quality standards set by ColorLogic. We provide a printed sample test form, and as you can see on the one on the screen, we have on the back top left hand corner we have some samples of a security coupon. This integrates the spot metallic colours and the dimensional and watermark effects. We have 4 images that have been reproduced using the ColorLogic image separation algorithm for Photoshop. Below that we have some tint colours. Now we have solid colours of metallics. These are not like spot colours, they're actually built using a silver overlaid with CMYK inks. Each of these colours we've also shown as a dimensional effect. The dimensional effect allows you to be able to create impact and dimension by moving the printed piece. Next to those we also have what's called watermark effects, and if we just zoom in here we can see faintly how we have a very faint watermark effect pattern. On the front cover, which is simulated with a butterfly design, this has been produced as a masterclass tutorial program where we commissioned a leading industry tutorial expert for Advanced Photoshop magazines to produce the cover for us from a design perspective. So on the left hand side we have a non-metallic background with a metallic butterfly wing, and then we've reversed this and we put metallic into the background with a dimensional and watermark effect pattern and left the butterfly wing as process. This works excellent for contrast, where we can add dimension by moving different contrasting areas metallic next to non-metallic. This masterclass tutorial program can be found on all ColorLogic CDs. That's on the printer CD and the design CD. The whole sheet will fold down into an 8 by 10 inch leaflet, so when the printer runs this on their machine, if they run 1,000 copies, they can then submit 3 samples to ColorLogic for approval and certification process. Once approved and certified, the company's details will be listed on the ColorLogic website so that other companies can approach them for producing work. Because this is foldable down to an 8 by 10 inch leaflet, we can allow the printer to then put their own branding on the back of this sheet. So on the page where it says print certification test form, it gives information on how to print the form, but more importantly underneath you have a personalization section where you can put your company contact details, the type of press it was printed on, the paper substrate you've used, what kind of coatings you're using, the process inks, and any other important information that is important and imperative to get across to the customer so that they know how this has been produced. Once folded down into an 8 by 10 inch leaflet, this can then be posted and mailed out economically to their clients. The next chart that we have on the ColorLogic CD is what we call the process metallic wall chart. This is in effect the swatch book. So whereas the swatch book that you would normally associate with any other type of spot colour system, which would be a fan deck type colour system, we allow and license the printer to produce their own metallic colour charts. There are 250 colours on our colour chart. It is a fully chromatic colour system spanning through the entire colour spectrum. Each colour has been replicated with a code. This is a unique identification code which is replicated into the digital colour palettes that install into the design software. So if you want to choose a green, you look at the colour and the code that you want and you design with that code in the colour palette, the same as you would design with any other colour palette system. The reason why we allow the licensing of this colour charts to be printed by the printer is that all machines vary how they output metallic designs, and this is true for any spot system. So if you to variate the substrate, so you change from a gloss to a silk, you effectively change the outcome of that metallic or non-metallic areas. The same with different types of process inks. If you use a different process ink set to what other companies use, you will achieve a different colour space. Maybe you're using something to an ISO standard. You could produce this to G7. You could produce this to the ISO, as I earlier mentioned. Or you can just run it to your normal in-house density and dot gains. The idea is that this is a personalised chart to show what is achievable from your machine. This colour chart also folds down into an 8x10 inch leaflet, which again can be posted out to your clients. This metallic colour chart should be handed out with the Colour Logic design suite. Now we provide 3 design suites with the metallic full license system. The idea behind this is that you give the colour chart and the design suite to the designer, they install it, and then they work to your colour space. Again, on the sheet we can actually show how we have the type of printing, the paper, the substrate, the coating. Now, very important to fill this information out so that customers know how it's been produced. For each print certification process, for example, if you have heat set or you have flexo, then you would need to run the same colour chart on each of those machines, because each type of printing will give you a different outcome, again based on the type of ink formulations and also the type of machine and the drying methods that are used. If you had a 4-colour machine, you would achieve a different result to what you would get on a 5-colour in line with the wet trap printing. So the idea is really simple. We provide you the tools to be able to design and develop your own colour system. You co-brand it with the ColourLogic branding, and you provide the colour charts and your marketing collateral out with our design suites to your customers. To show you how easy it is, we're going to first of all work in a design using InDesign, and this morning's demonstration we will actually show you 3 application programs. We will use InDesign to create some business cards. We will use Illustrator to create a vector type graphic, and then we'll use Photoshop to integrate metallics into photography. So first of all, we're going to take a simulated business card. Now when you get your ColourLogic CD, it has an installer program which has a software wrapper around it and will install the various components for ColourLogic into the various places on your hard drive. Once the files have been installed, simply in InDesign we go to the swatches window, we go to new colour swatch, and when the window comes up it gives us the option to go to the colour mode, and we choose our library from the list. If our library is not already listed in the directory, simply click on Other Library and direct it to the appropriate folder within InDesign. This information is given to you inside the user manuals so that it is easy to be able to locate and work with our information. So I'm going to go to Desktop, I'm going to go to Applications, I'm going to InDesign, and our software will work with all versions of InDesign. Today I'm using InDesign CS3. I'm going to go to the Presets, Swatch Libraries, ColourLogic. This will then import our colour library into InDesign, assuming that it's not already been installed automatically for you. In the list you'll notice that we have various colours and effects. So I'm going to select a few. Now we see we have the name of the solid, which is CL060 in this example, and we also have a dimensional effect colour and a watermark effect colour. So we're actually pre-building the effects into our design colour palette. So let's just scroll down, let's choose some more colours, and one more. We're going to add those to our list, click on Done, and you'll now notice from our swatches we've now added all the colours into the palette. And let's just interrogate what the colours look like first of all. So looking at CL060, we open this up. The CL is the prefix for ColorLogic, 060 is its unique identification number, and the S stands for the silver system. Here we are pre-building the silver with percentages of CMYK. It's important to notice that all our colours will only ever have 2 inks printed over the top of the metallic at any one time. This ensures maximum transparency of the colours and gives us the greatest metallic effect. So yes, whilst it is true you can have more than 250 metallic colours, we have given the favourite colours that are used in a fully chromatic colour system that we know work. The next colour down we have dimensional effects, where we're removing the silver component from within inside the colour. We have watermark effects, which is pre-built in silver separation information. And to show you how easy it is to be able to use these, click on a background colour, choose the colour you want to colour it up, and we're going to go through and colour each one of these up as a different metallic colour. So quickly and easily they've been created and the metallic is embedded into that design. If we now click on the My Brand text, we're going to make this one dimensional effects, and we want to make this dimensional effect for 96. This one was CL159 dimensional effect, and I think you see where we're going with this. It's click and colour up. If we want to create the watermark effect, so for example if we want to take this text here and we want to make that a watermark effect pattern that will basically simulate a watermark that will appear and disappear in the print. Again, select the text, click on the appropriate colour, and you will notice that it then dulls back to a watermark type visual effect. Using your separations preview, you can turn on your separations, and if we just move this back to full zoom and we turn off the silver separation, you will notice that we just have CMYK on our screen. We turn off the CMYK, you'll see we have the silver built in. It's been knocked out for the light dimensional effect, and then we have the silver plus process in the watermark effect. So the light changing effect of this dimensional pattern, very good for creating impact and dimension, and the watermark for subliminal effects. If we want to create a gradient, very simple to do. We're going to gradate, let's take this background bluish aqua colour. First of all, we'll make a linear gradient, and let's take the CL96 at one end and we'll have CL159 at the other end. We've now gradated 2 metallic colours together. Now this is very important because this is a unique feature for ColorLogic. You cannot gradate 2 spot metallic colours together. So for example, if you have a PMS gold and a PMS silver and you try to mix those 2 inks together, it is not possible because they contain metallic pigments, and metallic pigments are made from metal, which are opaque. So you can't gradate very well at all 2 opaque inks over the top of each other. The unique thing with ColorLogic is that we always have just a solid silver behind these solid colours. What we are doing is we are gradating the colour over the top of the silver. So you see how he's built up our separations here. Turn on the CMYK, but the constant is always the silver. So all these effects are pre-built into the palettes, which makes it very quick and very easy to be able to design and output your files. Simply send it to your RIP or output to PDF. If you output to PDF, you can also check the separations in Acrobat Professional. The next program we're going to show you is using Illustrator. Adobe Illustrator again is very simple. We've created a design palette and we've also created a script. So what I'm going to show you first of all, I'm going to show you the actual palettes that we're working with. We've designed something called a graphic style. So what we need to do is go to our window menu, graphic style libraries, and go to ColorLogic metallic silver graphic style. This pre-builds silver and the CMYK separations together. It also creates all of our effects. So if we look at a list view, we will see that we have a solid and also the dimensional and watermark effect pattern. So what we can do we'll just take this little sample text panel here. If we want to make this yellow a different colour from the ColorLogic system, and we want to make it CL003, simply clicking on CL003 will apply the graphic style to that panel. Now you'll notice that the colour in the CL003 is like a light goldy brown colour, yet the colour on our screen has gone grey. This is because we need to turn on the overprint preview function. Overprint preview will show any overprinting information. We can now see the colour in its correct format. If we look at our appearance, we can see how we built our graphic style using the original colour from the colour palette mixed with our silver separation. Again, if we want to create this different panel in a different colour, let's make it 38. Same thing, click and apply. Now the one thing to remember about graphic styles is that they apply a style to the graphic based on the predefined settings. So if you have a stroke going around these, or a frame, then you be careful using the graphic styles because it will remove the frame. If you want to duplicate something that has a frame around it, and let's make this frame, let's see, and give it a nice thick frame. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to simulate how we have a frame around the box. Now notice if I click on the box panel and I want to change it to CL0035, you notice how the frame disappeared. That's because the graphic style does not have that framing information built into it. So to get around these issues, we've built a script. It's an action set. You load it from the ColorLogic CD and simply play the action after adding the silver. Always forget this part. Go to your swatch libraries, ColorLogic Metallic Silver. You need to add this to your list first of all. So we just add that to the swatches. And this is because the script is looking for the silver separation. So now when we play our action, it's now duplicated it, put silver over the top and kept all the framing information. It's a very easy way to be able to produce your files, is to be able to assign it a function key. So I've assigned function key F2. So all I need to do is select my colour, press F2, and it will automatically copy it, duplicate it and put silver over the top. Looking at these little dots and circles, again we could duplicate it, put silver on the top and make it metallic. We could also use our graphic style because they don't have any frames around the outside edge. So we can call up number 36 and let's choose another one, very different colour, make it 141, 145. Okay, so quickly and easy we can apply the colour schemes across our designs. If we want to make a dimensional effect pattern, so this is pattern number 145, I'm just going to duplicate that box and I'm going to scale it down. So if you imagine we now have a smaller circle within inside the larger circle. I've done this quite crudely just to show you how we do this. The pattern in the center we're going to make dimensional effect, and it's as simple as clicking on the effect of the same color. So if you use CL145 for this background metallic, the inner circle needs to be CL145 dimensional effect. And if you wanted that to be watermark effect, where the circle would appear and disappear, then again you color it up the effect. If we turn off our preview, you will see how we have solid silver for the outer circle and the inner circle has a different percentage. This is a calculated percentage based on what the watermark should look like when it appears and disappears. Now I could go across the whole of this map and colour up each an individual colour, but I'm sure you get the idea. The same thing can happen with gradients. Very, very simple. We make a gradient and we're going to choose some colours from our swatch list. We provide both the actual graphic style and we also supply a swatch panel as well. So if we want to make a gradient, and we'll have, let's see, let's take the silver out of this separation first. We'll make ColorLogic number 10 at one end, and then at the other end let's have a blue. CL138. So we drag our start and finish colours. If we want to make it metallic, all we have to do is duplicate it and put silver over the top and set it to overprint. Again, we can do this using our action set. So click on Make Fill Metallic, play the action, and it puts silver over the top, set to overprint. Turn on the Overprint Preview function and you can now see the effect on your screen. If we're going to create a dimensional effect pattern, this is where it gets a little bit more complex, because you can't use the graphic style because that's for solids. This is a gradient. So what we're going to do is I'm going to hide that silver separation on the top. I'm now going to duplicate this smaller box just to show you an effect. In fact, actually, let's make it out of type to make it a little bit more complex. So what I'm doing here is I'm just setting some text, dimensional effects. Now, one thing to remember about using dimensional effects is that you need to give it a good area to be able to work with. Thin type areas do not work well. So this serif typeface would not come out very well. That's purely because if you get any spread on the metallic ink, you will lose the effect. So what I would normally recommend is choosing, if you're going to use a typeface, use something a little bit more bold. Let's just stick with, let's go for a Myriad Pro. This is the ColorLogic typeface. And let's go for bold. Okay, so this is the area that we want to be dimensional effect. First of all, I'm going to change my text into outlines. Now I'm going to give it a colour, so I need it to be the same linear gradient that we have in the background. But notice how we have the start and finish point of our gradient in each letter. What we need to do here is we need to get our gradient tool and starting at the extreme left of the gradient from the background box, holding down the shift key and drag across to the right. We can now apply the same gradient to that dimensional effect text as we have in the background. So now when we bring our silver separation back, you can see how we have silver in the background with a dimensional effect gradient in the middle. We could do something a little bit more complex again. We could create a watermark effect. So we could take each one of these characters and let's just duplicate that and we'll hide one of them. This one we're going to colour up as, let's call it silver. We're going to create the dimensional, the watermark effect. We're going to get silver. The colour value we're going to change to 80%. And then we're going to turn on our overprint. So we can now just about make out a very faint watermark. We're now going to bring back our dimensional effect and we're going to just move it out of the way. And what this does, we've now got a metallic background. We have a dimensional effect piece of wording, and underneath the dimensional effect we have a watermark effect drop shadow that will appear and disappear in the print as it's moved. So from just by using one metallic ink, we've created multiple metallic colours together. We've created dimensional and we've created subliminal areas. Most people always complicate things by trying to make all their images metallic. What people often overlook is the fact that the ColorLogic system has 250 unique new metallic colours. So if you're going to use a metallic colour, you can just use one of our colours on its own with your CMYK design. Or if you had a range, say like greeting cards, you could produce an unlimited amount of different greeting cards in metallics. So for example, if you had 8 greeting cards that already employ metallic inks, and each one is a different metallic, then each one of those gets planned up on its own job, has an extra printing plate, extra tin of ink, and extra cost associated with that. With the ColorLogic system, we can replicate all those metallic colours on the same piece of paper. So this means you gang up all of your 8 designs on the same sheet at the same time, and you reproduce it using ColorLogic, so you go from 8 spot metallic colours down to 1 spot metallic colour that you actually print with, but you still obtain the 8 metallic colours. So it's a case of looking for work in where you can apply metallics. Now this could be, as I mentioned, greeting cards, gift wrap. You could use it for magazine covers, food packaging. Anything that has colour and dimension can be used with our system. The final program this morning, we're going to show the Photoshop tutorial program. This is how easy it is to be able to convert an image. Now, first of all, it is very important to remember that not every image works well in metallics. Now, on screen we have an image of the front end of a car. This is an ideal image. It's bright, it's clean, it's got a nice mid-tone range, and that's a perfect colour range for our script to be working with. Our image separation algorithm works on the basis that when it calculates an image, it looks for realistic type effects. So, for example, shadow information is not metallic. If you look at anything in the shadows, it does not reflect light, it absorbs light. So, if you have a very dark image, our script is not going to put silver into it because it looks on a real life scenario. It also is going to look at the white highlights. A white highlight is what it says, it is a white highlight. And that is where light is bleaching out everything else, so you can't physically see any colour underneath. This is the way our script works. So the two areas, white and dark shadow black areas, our script will avoid putting silver into. This is also very important because the image separation algorithm calculates how much silver to put into the different tonal areas based on ink saturation limits. So the more ink you have printing over the top of the metallic, the less the metallic can show through. One ink, of course, over the top of any colour is transparent, but if you start layering multiple inks on top of each other, they become opaque. For advice and help with your images, it's always advisable to contact ColorLogic for support. We can offer you advice before you even try to attempt to convert your files. It's often better to ask before than try to waste time on a file that just simply won't work. We also recommend not always making the product metallic. We found that the best use of metallics within imagery is to put the metallic into the background and leave the product as it is. The main reason behind this is that metallic inks, when they do not have any light shining on them, can look very dark and dull. Now, when the light is shining on them, they look fantastic. However, if you have your design, your product in metallic, and it's no light shining on it, do you want your brand and your identification to be associated with dark and dull? And the answer simply is no. So you put the metallic into the background, which will almost bring the product off the page, and then you get that interaction of processed colours next to metallic. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this car front end and we're going to use our image separation algorithm. It's very simple. It's designed to do all the work for you. However, it will only get you 80% of the way there, and I'll explain this in a minute. So, from our window menu, we're going to go to our actions. When we load our actions in, you'll notice we don't have any at the moment, so if we go down to the drop down submenu, you'll notice we have the ColorLogic Metallic Silver. This loads into Photoshop, and we have one action called Generate Metallic Channel. This is keeping it very simple and very easy to use. Play that separation, the separation algorithm. The computer is now going to analyse the whole of the image and decide where it should put the silver based on ink saturation limits. And it doesn't make any difference whether your design is in CMYK or whether it's in RGB or lab. What our separation tool will do is, even if you have multiple layers, it will snapshot your file so that basically it will then remember where you were up to and what format your image was in. Then it will do all the work necessary to convert it and then reverts it back to the format you were before you ran the script. So in this instance we're using an RGB image. What we're going to do now is turn off the RGB so you can see our silver separation. Now if you notice where I mentioned where we have white, it puts no silver. Where we have shadow, like in the wheels and the rim of the wheels and the front grille area of the car, it's putting no metallic silver. The only metallic it's putting in is in colour areas. So if I turn it on and off, you see in the highlights of the rim of the wheel where we've got colour saturation creeping in, and in the lighter reflections on the bottom part of the wheel, it is starting to put some silver into those tonal areas. Notice how the rims and the alloys and the wheels have got a perfect amount of silver in there. Our image separation algorithm has 63 steps that it goes through to be able to give you this type of image separation. However, it works on making the whole image metallic, so everything is metallic. The reason it does this is that the computer is not intelligent enough to be able to work out where it should and should not place metallic. Where do you want it to be? So what we've done is, in this instance, we've made a mask. I'm just going to show you the masked area. These are the areas that I want to be metallic. So we've got the rim and we have the front end of the car. This is where you have to make a path, whether it's using the magic wand, a colour range separation, or whether you're using some form of alpha channels, clipping masks. It's up to you. It has to be done, and this is something that our script cannot do for you. So we've made a selection of our area. I'm now going to feather that selection. I'm going to feather it by a couple of pixels. In this instance I'm going to use 2 pixels. This will vary dependent upon how big your file is. So if you have a 2 meter size graphic, you need to use a few more pixels feathering. The reason for this feathering is it gives a softer edge along the outside of your separation, so you don't get that real hard distinctive edge. Next we need to inverse the selection. So inversing is now selecting everything that we do not want in metallic. Go back to our channels and click on our silver separation, ensuring that our foreground and background colours being reset to white in the background. You can now press delete on your keyboard and you delete the unwanted area from your design. We now have a silver separation ready to output. You can turn it on and off. If you notice that the original image looks brighter than the metallic. Now this is because you're adding another channel in here. It's something that most people forget, is that a metallic silver is equivalent to say 20 to 25% black is a colour variation. So you add that to any colour, it is always going to change the original outcome. However, this will become metallic, which is a unique feature. All you need to do is save your file as either a TIFF, PDF, PSD file, depending on your workflow. These are the formats, and also DCS2 that will accept spot colour channels. If you want to create a design with some text, so in this instance we're going to make a little bit of text, and let's put it in this white space, and let's change the font and make it bold. Scale it a little bit to fit into the white space. Okay, so if we want this text to become a colour from our actual colour palette, from the ColorLogic colour palette, if you click on your foreground background colour selector, it brings up the colour picker. Click on colour libraries and you'll notice that we have our own colour book. Choosing the colour you wish, so 155, click on OK, and that has now created this colour. Now it's very important to remember all you've done at this stage is make it colour. So if we turn off the RGB separations, there's no silver there. We do not run the script on these solids. The script is only for photographic images. For solids like this, all we have to do is make a selection. Holding down my Apple key and clicking on the text to make a bounding box selection of that text information. We go onto our silver separation and we fill that area with foreground colour, which is 100% of black, or you could just go to black 100%. Now what that's doing is putting solid silver behind the back of that colour, of that test text. So where you want to use solids from the colour chart, you must design with it and then apply the silver onto the silver separation. For photographic images, they need to have the script run on it so it can analyse the shadow and highlights and mid-tone points. To be able to do dimensional effects and watermark effects, again very simple using these application programs. I'm just going to take this, let's take the same text for the test, and I'm just going to duplicate that. Make a copy, and I'm going to make some smaller text down here. Okay, so if this was, for example, a decal down the front end of a car, and we won't go into proportionate scaling on this, we'll just show you the effect. We can make a selection of that area. We don't actually need that text information, we just wanted the bounding box. I'm just going to delete that so you can see that all we're after is that bounding box information. Now on our silver separation, all we have to do is delete that area. so we've got no silver in that area now. And when we turn the silver separation back on, you will see we have the word test still written there. So we have metallic and non-metallic, and that's dimensional effect. Very simple, very easy. Again, same thing we can do. We can use it with our watermark effects. Now, watermark effects, I'm just going to change my image mode to CMYK so you can see this a bit clearer in regular working mode. Using our curves, we're going to change the solid, which is the top point here, from 100% down to 80. What that's done, I'll just hide it, you can see we've now got that watermark effect appearing in the background of the car. Very simple, very quick and very easy. And that's all there is to using the ColorLogic system. For image separation within Photoshop, open your image, load the action, play the action, delete the unwanted area, and then simply save your file. Remember that the ColorLogic chart that we previously showed you can also be used as a way to be able to access the proof. You know, the printer is producing this color chart off their system, off their machines, so that is a like-for-like representation of what is possible off that machine. So you can use those color chips, you can cut them out, staple them to your proofs, and that is almost like a tear-out chip. Okay, so what's included on the ColorLogic license? A printer CD would typically look like the one we have on screen. First of all, we have the print certification test form. This should be run first by the printer. This qualifies the printer to produce the following information: the metallic wall chart. Now you can combine both of these two on the same press run. In fact, you could either back them up and print. If you have say a 40-inch press, you can run the print certification test form down the left hand side and the metallic wall chart down the right hand side. And if you did that as work and tumble, you could flip them over and print front and back, so you can print the test form on one side of the sheet and the color chart on the other side of the sheet, therefore saving paper. So instead of running two different sets of paper and two different charts, you can just fold it all down into one 8 by 10 inch. Also provided on the CD, we provide a range of digital artwork for marketing. This includes a printer's brochure, calendar, and some postcard designs. Printer's brochure is 20 pages long and is designed for marketing purposes for that printer. Simply personalise with your information, print and finish and send to your customers. Same with calendars and the postcards. Postcards are very important these days. Cheap, economical to be able to post out, cheap to manufacture, and they carry a lot of information. 4-color image on one side with the ColorLogic metallics integrated. On the reverse side you could show them the solid colours, and you could have a ready-made marketing campaign that you could post out one every week for the period of 4 weeks, hard hitting your customers. So what we've tried to do is provide support levels for all areas within inside ColorLogic. So getting you onto the machine, sending your own colour system out, supporting you with literature. We have the ColorLogic installer that pre-installs everything and licenses it to your computer. It's important to note that the ColorLogic printer's license is a single seat license. That single seat license means for that one manufacturing plant. So if you have 3 different manufacturing plants in the US, for example, and you wanted each site to be licensed, then you would need to buy a license for each site. However, inside that single license for that site, you have an unlimited install on your machines. So you can install it onto 3 graphic design stations, 2 pre-press stations, whatever you want. It's a one-off license fee, and it's also a lifetime license. This means that we don't come back to you charging you an annual subscription. Also built into it is 12 months technical support. You have online email training, we do the webinars as you can see with this one. We also have the phone support. Next to that we have the training programs. The training programs have 2 types of programs. We have a sales tool, which is more of a PowerPoint based Q&A as to what our system is, how it's used and why it should be used. And then we have the masterclass tutorial program. This was the butterfly graphic image that was located on the front of the test form. This is that when you hand the test form, the colour chart to the designers, they can learn how that cover was produced. We also have the user manual, and the user manual is about roughly 40 pages long and explains each application program from start to finish on how to work with the plugins, what type of images to look for, integrating the special effects and using it just as a solid colour. However, the first thing you should really always do, and we try to make this as obvious as possible, is Start Here button. You start here, it has a PDF file. It's a quick start guide, and it explains information. For example, when you're going to print out your test forms, how should you print it out, how do I register, what do you need to do first, and it will guide you step by step the way through. Now hopefully this has all been very clear for the presentation purposes. We would also like to show you what you get with the design suite. The ColorLogic design suite is available through the printers, so the printer basically obtains those colour suites from us and provides them to the design agencies. Again, you have the Start Here icon, you have the installer. This time the installer is a single seat installation per computer. So this will register it through an IP address to that one computer station. So if you try to install it on multiple locations, it would not work. We also have the training programs, again sales based, and the masterclass tutorial and the user manual. And the final CD that we send out is the starter kit. The starter kit is the pre-designed test form supplied with a couple of pounds or a kilo of the best offset silver ink. This is designed so that a printer can try before they buy to make sure that they're happy with it. One thing we also recommend with the running the test forms is throw some different paper stocks through. You know, if you're printing on a good, decent gloss white stock, as we would recommend, that's great. But not everybody prints on gloss white stock. Some print on silk or dull or uncoated. So run some different stocks through, and then you can show your customers this is what happens if you print it onto gloss, this is what happens if you print it onto silk, etc, etc. Again, same thing, put some with coatings and some without. The best offset silver ink that we supply is designed to be run on a conventional offset press that has, ideally you can do it on a 5-colour machine, but you don't need to. It's designed to be run inline wet trap, so the 4-colour will stick over the top. It is available online to purchase. The unique properties of this ink is that it's classed as a non-leafing pigment, which means that we can put things on top of the silver. This allows us to put aqueous coating, UV varnishes, gloss lamination over the top of our metallic, and it does not affect the luster. This is very important because normal metallic inks in the marketplace, if you try to coat or varnish them, they will dull down. This does not happen with the best offset silver ink. We also offer a lesser quality, shall we say, silver. It's more typical to the 877 silver that most people would be familiar with. However, we call it a lesser silver because it will dull down like all metallics if you put the varnish or anything over the top of it. So we really do recommend the best offset silver ink. And that draws to the conclusion of the ColorLogic presentation this morning. We hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. We can be contacted at the support@color-logic.com, or you can contact us directly through the website. Thank you and have a great day.